Thank you, everybody, for coming again. These meetings have been very informative, and I'd encourage everybody to participate freely. And remember, as I tell everyone in the military, the only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. I ask stupid questions all the time, and sometimes they end up being not so stupid. But that's how you learn, because context is so important. Let me just briefly go through the context in which we are meeting, and that is this. Our state used a very smart, targeted, measured approach to restricting business. Unlike some other states that had a broader, untargeted, but broader approach. That's the way they did it, and we did it a little differently. We and three other states. So I just want to, as we have these discussions, remind everyone on what we did. And we did not attempt to draw the line between thousands of essential and non-essential businesses and classify them that way, because that is an impossible task. Others have done it. But what we did was we went at this from a different perspective, and that is a more targeted one of finding the hot spots. You'll recall recently the CDC mentioned 3 states, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, as hot spots for the contagion, and issued a domestic travel advisory on which we based one of our restrictions a few weeks ago. But they targeted hot spots. That's the way that we did this. So reading from one of these executive orders, I'd just like to remind you where the restrictions were that we imposed. Now, we asked everyone to observe social distancing to the extent that's possible, and we all know what that means. But as far as putting limitations on the businesses in South Carolina, here is what we did. We had a number of closures, and we told people, if you're not on the list, you're not closed. If you're not restricted on the list, you're not restricted. And we had people calling up saying, well, am I essential or am I not essential? We said, well, look at the list. Here's the list. If you're not on it, you're not on it, and you can proceed, but do so with social distancing. So that is the context on which we are attempting to re-energize our businesses and industries, understanding that there are some, including our major manufacturers, that had to limit their work and in some cases closed down for short periods because they couldn't get supplies from the other countries or around the country, or because there was no market for what they were selling. So there are a lot of businesses and industries that have closed or limited or have been impacted one way or another, not because of what we have done or required in the state of South Carolina, but just in general conditions. So we're going to be fighting those general conditions of perhaps a lack of a market or a lack of supplies as we try to move out. It's not just what we do here that affects us, it's things that are happening in the rest of the country and the rest of the world. But if we are smart, we can have, as some have noticed from other parts of the country, South Carolina is doing it right. And it is a great place to be and a great place to work. But here are the ones that we put limitations on. Under the category of entertainment venues and facilities. And there are 4 different categories here. Now, we'd already issued the restrictions on the restaurants and the bars, as you know. That was and the schools, which has continued. Entertainment venues and facilities as follows: nightclubs, bowling alleys, arcades, concert venues, theaters, auditoriums, and performing arts centers, tourist attractions, including museums, aquariums, and planetariums, racetracks, indoor children play areas with exceptions of licensed child care facilities, adult entertainment venues, bingo halls, and venues operated by social clubs. Those are in the category of entertainment venues and facilities, and that's the list. That's the exclusive list. Number 2 of 4, recreational and athletic facilities and activities as follows: fitness and exercise centers and commercial gyms, spas and public or commercial swimming pools, group exercise facilities to include yoga, barre, B-A-R-R-E, and spin studios or facilities, spectator sports, Sports that involve interaction in close proximity to and within less than 6 feet of another person. Activities that require the use of shared sporting apparatus and equipment. Activities on commercial or public playground equipment. That's the second category, recreational and athletic facilities and activities. Number 3 of 4, close contact services providers as follows: barbershops, hair salons, waxing studios, threading salons, nail salons and spas, body art facilities and tattoo services, tanning salons. That is the end of the close contact service providers and follows. And of course, the reason for that category is quite obvious because it involves very close personal contact and touching. And then retail stores as follows. And these were the small retail stores, not the big box stores, not Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's and those. They did suggest at one point that we apply a rule of 20% or 5 customers per 1,000 square feet, which we did. And we later applied that to these small retailers. The small retailers were required to close except for front door service for about 2 weeks. And here are the small retail stores. Retail stores as follows: furniture and home furnishing stores, clothing, shoe, and clothing accessory stores. If you've been in some of the shoe stores lately, they have 1,000 boxes of every size, it seems, on shelves all around, and people come in and touch them and put them on their feet and put them back in the box and put them back on the shelf, and it's just on and off all day long. And then you come in and do the same thing, and there you go, you're touching that same surface. It may have the virus on it, and this is a pesky virus. It doesn't go away. It's about like wet paint. Once it's on something, it's on there, and if you touch it, you go get it too. Furniture and home furnishing stores, clothing, shoe, clothing accessory stores, jewelry, luggage, and leather goods stores, department stores with the exception of hardware and home improvement stores. Why is that? Hardware stores, you usually don't pick something up and study it. You pick it up, put it in your basket or put it in your hand, take it and check it out. So there's not a lot of that back and forth that we see in some of the others. Sporting goods stores, book, craft, and music stores, flea markets, florist, and flower stores. We were happy to know that most florists do a heavy business when they do around Easter and other times. Just usually that people call up, make the order, and pick it up, and there really is not a lot of shopping inside the store. So those are the things that we put restrictions on. And of course, just last week or maybe 10 days ago, we applied the big box rule of 20% or so forth to those retail stores, the smaller retail stores that we had closed for about 2 weeks. So that is the context in which we are operating. So I think we went into this in a very smart way, a targeted way. It has worked. There's no doubt about that. And we want to go out in the same thoughtful, targeted way as we move out. There have been millions of dollars of loans, millions of dollars of unemployment money given to people. They are the Department of Employment Workforce and the SBA and the banks all doing record amounts of moving money into places where it's needed. So with that, I say thank you. And I would urge everyone to ask questions. This is a good time to get a lot of answers from people who have the answers. And we appreciate everyone on behalf of all the proud, happy 5 million South Carolinians. Thank you again for your work.